Sudan's military has seized power in a coup. Here's what's coming up.
The new military rulers are going to play chicken with the world. They're going to see who blinks first.
Protesters have blocked key bridges and reportedly faced gunfire. Plus,
Facebook is unwilling to acknowledge its own power.
A Facebook whistleblower testifying to British lawmakers says the social network makes online hate worse. And later,
these were washed, definitely. This one is completely brown, discolored.
a CNN investigation uncovers how used and dirty medical gloves have made their way into the US supply chain. Hello, I'm Lynda Kinkade, live at CNN's headquarters here in Atlanta, and this is One World. Well, night is falling in Sudan, and we now know that 2 people have been killed in protests against the coup. That's according to the Sudanese Central Doctors Committee. The head of the armed forces says soldiers have dissolved the transitional government, claiming that a power-sharing agreement with civilian leaders had become a conflict that threatened unity. Well, the government official says the Prime Minister has been arrested and taken to an undisclosed location with his wife. And earlier, one of his aides told CNN that the Premier was aware that the army's plans are and had been under pressure to dissolve the government. Well, hundreds of protesters have filled the streets to condemn the military takeover. Some lit fires, set up roadblocks and chanted in support of civilian rule. CNN's Nima Elbagir joins us now with more on this. And Nima, Sudan's general has declared a state of emergency. We know that the Prime Minister, his wife, various other ministers are under house arrest. Just bring us up to speed with the latest, and how do we get to this point?
Well, this has come after months of tensions between the military rulers of Sudan's Transitional Sovereign Council and the civilian side. There was supposed to be a transition from the military heading up of the council to the civilian side. That didn't happen. Instead, this is what happened. Take a look at this, Lynda. Sudan once again forced to a crossroads. 1 month after a failed coup attempt, the military arrested Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok on Monday, along with other civilian members of the transitional government, bearing all the hallmarks of military takeover, a coup. Since the toppling of long-serving ruler Nima Elbagir in 2019, military and civilian groups have been sharing power in the Northeast African nation, intending to lead eventually to democratic elections in 2023. The transition has seen Sudan emerge from international isolation under Bashir's nearly 3-decade rule. That democratic experiment now hangs in the balance. Via a televised address, the head of Sudan's armed forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who is also the head of the Transitional Sovereign Council, announced that the military has dissolved the government and declared a state of emergency.
We stress here that the armed forces intend to complete the democratic transition until the country's leadership is handed over to an elected civilian government.
Prime Minister Hamdok's home appeared to be surrounded by armed forces on Monday. According to the Information Ministry, apparently still loyal to the country's erstwhile civilian rulers, Hamdok was told to release a statement in support of the takeover, but instead called on the people to take to the streets in protest. Tens of thousands demonstrated in Khartoum, burning tires and barricading roads. One eyewitness told CNN 3 key bridges had been blocked by protesters in the capital, and the crowd could be heard chanting, "The people are stronger, and going back is impossible."
What the military is doing now is a big betrayal to all the citizens on all levels. Now it is important that every individual Sudanese citizen acts and takes to the streets to not let any armed vehicle move.
Military forces stormed Sudan's state broadcaster in the city of Omdurman and detained staff, according to the Information Ministry, which also said live bullets were fired at protesters outside Sudan's Army General Command. It's unclear whether there were any casualties or who was firing. The Sudanese Professionals Association, in part responsible for the 2019 uprising, issued a call to action, saying, quote, "We urge the masses to go out on the streets and occupy them, close all roads with barricades, stage a general labor strike, and not to cooperate with the putschists, and use civil disobedience to confront them." Flights from Khartoum International Airport have been suspended, and the internet and the mobile phone network have been severely disrupted. Sudan has been in the midst of a deep economic crisis, marked by record high inflation and shortages of basic goods. The United States Embassy in Khartoum issued a statement saying it was gravely concerned, saying, quote, "We call on all actors who are disrupting Sudan's transition to stand down and allow the civilian-led transitional government to continue its important work to achieve the goals of the revolution." Since then, Lynda, since the US Embassy released its tweet, we've been hearing from leaders around the world, all expressing varying degrees of concern and alarm. The issue for many of those within Sudan, well, the few that we've been able to speak to, given the way that the military has toppled much of the communications network in the country over the last few hours, those we're speaking to say that concern and alarm is well and good, but the United States envoy for the Horn of Africa, Jeffrey Feltman, was in Sudan on Saturday, and a day later this happened. So their concern is that the words of concern from the international community are not enough, Lynda.
Yeah, certainly. And Nima, Sudan was already dealing with an economic crisis with shortages in food and medicine, corruption. What will more political upheaval mean for the people of Sudan?
That's the risk that the military are taking. Given all of the upset and sense of dissatisfaction across the country regarding the issues around shortages of fuel, the contagion across the eastern border from Ethiopia, meaning that a lot of the goods that used to come in more cheaply because of the insecurity in Ethiopia are much more expensive. Whether the military thinks that it can survive not only a populace that is disappointed and heartbroken over how close they came to the promise of democracy, but also a populace that potentially could be even more hungry, even more fed up with how expensive the cost of living is in the country, it feels, from this perspective, from where we are now, like a pretty big risk in that the military thinks that it can outstare not only the international community, but also its own local populace. Whether they can, well, we're going to have to be watching closely over the next few days, Lynda.
All right, yeah, we certainly will. We will be talking to you again very soon, no doubt. Nima Elbagir, thanks so much.